The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and unforgiving. Maya Jenkins stood at the front of Mrs. Whitmore's fifth-grade classroom, clutching a poster board that trembled in her small hands. Career Day. The words felt heavy in her mouth before she even spoke them. "I want to be the CEO of a technology company," Maya said, her voice clear despite the flutter in her chest. The poster showed faces of tech innovators, diverse, successful, changing the world. Laughter erupted like a wave crashing against rocks. Sharp, cruel, unstoppable. Maya's classmates doubled over in their seats, pointing, gasping for air between giggles. The sound filled every corner of the room, drowning out her heartbeat. Mrs. Whitmore's smile was thin, cold as January frost. She adjusted her pearl necklace and tilted her head with practiced sympathy. "Oh, Maya dear, that's very ambitious." The pause hung like a noose. "But let's be realistic about our goals, shall we? Perhaps something more suitable for someone with your background." The words landed like stones. Maya's throat tightened. Her poster, carefully colored, lovingly researched, suddenly felt childish, foolish in her grip. "I'm sure there are wonderful opportunities in service fields," Mrs. Whitmore continued, her voice honey-sweet and poisonous. "Healthcare support, perhaps. Social services? Those are respectable paths." The classroom spun slightly. Maya's fingers crushed the poster's edge, creating a crease that cut through one innovator's face. The laughter continued, a soundtrack to her humiliation. One boy in the back mimicked her voice in a high-pitched squeal, "I want to be a CEO." More laughter. Mrs. Whitmore didn't correct him. She simply smiled that cold smile and turned back to her desk, dismissing Maya with a wave. "Thank you for sharing, dear. Next presenter, please." Maya walked back to her seat through a gauntlet of giggles and whispers. The poster hung limp in her hand, dreams folding in on themselves. Maya Jenkins lived in a world split between possibility and limitation. At home, in their cramped two-bedroom apartment on Fletcher Street, everything felt warm despite the peeling wallpaper and second-hand furniture. Her mother, Diane Jenkins, worked double shifts at Mercy Hospital, nurse's aide by day, custodial staff by night, but still found energy to quiz Maya on multiplication tables and celebrate every A+ like a championship trophy. Their living room was Maya's laboratory. Circuit boards salvaged from broken electronics covered the coffee table. Coding notebooks, filled with Python and JavaScript experiments, stacked beside library books about computer science pioneers. Maya taught herself to code at age 8, using a refurbished laptop her mother bought from a pawn shop, spending her tip money without hesitation. "Baby girl, you're going to change the world," Diane said every morning before her shift, kissing Maya's forehead with chapped lips that smelled like cocoa butter and determination. "Don't let anyone tell you different." But outside that apartment, the world had different plans. Pinewood Academy sat in the wealthy part of town, its brick facade and manicured lawns speaking a language of privilege Maya wasn't born understanding. She attended on scholarship, a diversity initiative the administration mentioned often, as if her presence was charitable rather than earned. The other students arrived in luxury SUVs, designer backpacks swinging from their shoulders. Maya rode 2 buses, her generic backpack holding lunch packed in reused containers. They talked about ski trips and summer homes. She talked about nothing, listening, learning their codes and currencies. Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore had taught 5th grade for 23 years. Her classroom walls displayed her credentials: master's degree from a prestigious university, Teacher of the Year awards, photos with local politicians. She spoke with authority, smiled with practiced warmth, and held expectations that somehow never extended equally to all students. Maya noticed the patterns. How Mrs. Whitmore called on white students more frequently. How she praised their answers with enthusiasm, while greeting Maya's correct responses with surprised sounds. How discipline fell harder on the 3 black students in class, swift and certain, while white students received gentle reminders. Still, Maya studied. She aced every test, completed extra credit, raised her hand even when doubt whispered that she shouldn't. Her mother's words were armor. Excellence is your weapon. Wield it. The Career Day poster had taken Maya 3 weeks to create. She researched tech CEOs, black ones, women ones, people who'd built empires from nothing. She drew their faces, printed their quotes, connected their stories to her own dreams with careful arrows and color-coded notes. It was beautiful. It was hopeful. It was hers, until it wasn't. The laughter from Career Day presentations followed Maya through the rest of the afternoon like a shadow she couldn't shake. During math, she felt eyes on her back. During recess, clusters of students whispered and pointed. By lunch, she sat alone at the far table, her sandwich untouched, her hands still shaking. Mrs. Whitmore approached during silent reading time, her heels clicking against linoleum with measured precision. She placed a pamphlet on Maya's desk without speaking. The cover read, "Realistic Career Paths for At-Risk Youth." A stock photo showed smiling teenagers in service industry uniforms. "I thought this might help with your future planning," Mrs. Whitmore said softly, her voice dripping with false concern. "It's important to set achievable goals, Maya. I'd hate to see you disappointed." Maya stared at the pamphlet. The words "at risk" seemed to pulse, to grow larger, to define her in ways she'd never defined herself. "My guidance counselor at my old school had excellent results steering students toward vocational programs," Mrs. Whitmore continued, oblivious or uncaring to Maya's silence. "There's no shame in hands-on work. Some people are simply better suited for practical careers than corporate ones." The classroom felt too small, too hot. Maya's vision tunneled. She heard her classmates shifting in their seats, sensed their attention magnetized to this moment. The humiliation wasn't over. It was multiplying. "Tech companies have very specific cultures," Mrs. Whitmore added, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Very competitive, very demanding. They look for certain qualities, certain fits." The unspoken words hung heavy. "You're not the fit." Maya's fingers curled around the pamphlet's edge. Part of her wanted to rip it, to throw it, to scream that she belonged anywhere she chose to be. But her mother's other lesson echoed, "Pick your battles. Win the war," so Maya said nothing. She slipped the pamphlet into her backpack and returned to her book, the words swimming meaninglessly across the page. Mrs. Whitmore smiled, a victor's smile, and walked away, heels clicking triumph. When the bell finally rang, Maya gathered her things with mechanical precision. The poster she'd worked so hard on lay crumpled at the bottom of her backpack, its careful drawings creased beyond recognition. Students rushed past her, their Career Day presentations intact, their dreams untouched. One boy, Tyler Harrison, who'd mocked her earlier, bumped her shoulder deliberately. "Watch where you're going," he said, though she'd been standing still. His friends laughed. Mrs. Whitmore, organizing papers at her desk, looked up briefly and looked away. Maya walked down Pinewood Academy's hallway alone. Behind her, echoes of laughter followed like ghosts. The pamphlet in her backpack felt heavier than books, heavier than failure, heavy as the weight of a world telling her to shrink. But she kept walking. Head up, back straight, the way her mother taught her. The girls' bathroom on the second floor was Maya's refuge. She locked herself in the furthest stall and sat on the closed toilet seat, her backpack clutched to her chest like armor. The fluorescent lights hummed the same frequency as the ones in Mrs. Whitmore's classroom, as if the sound of her humiliation had followed her here too. Maya pulled out the crumpled poster. The faces of innovators she'd so carefully drawn stared back, distorted by creases and tears. One woman's quote, "Innovation requires imagination, not permission," was barely readable now, smudged by Maya's sweaty palms during the presentation. Tears came hot and fast, blurring her vision. She bit her lip hard, tasting copper, refusing to make noise. Crying was private. Crying was surrender. She wouldn't give them that. The bathroom door creaked open. Voices filtered in, 2 girls from her class chattering about the upcoming dance. They paused at the mirrors, oblivious to Maya's presence behind the stall door. "Did you see Maya's face when Mrs. Whitmore shut her down?" one said between giggles. "Like obviously she's not going to be a CEO, that's hilarious." The other girl laughed. "I know, right? Mrs. Whitmore's the best. She keeps it real." Their voices faded as they left, but the words lingered like smoke. Maya stared at her poster, at her own childish handwriting spelling out dreams these girls found laughable. Her mother's voice rose from memory. "They'll doubt you because of your skin, baby. Because of where we live. Because of what they think they see when they look at you. They'll try to make you small. You prove them wrong." But what if Mrs. Whitmore was right? What if Maya was foolish for dreaming so big? What if the world really didn't have space for black girls with tech ambitions? The thought lasted 3 seconds before anger replaced it. Not the hot, explosive kind. Something colder, sharper, more clarifying. Maya smoothed the poster against her knee, pressing out creases with deliberate fingers. The faces stared back, undaunted by wrinkles. These people had faced doubt too, rejection, closed doors. And they'd broken through anyway. Maya folded the poster carefully, protectively, and placed it back in her bag. The pamphlet Mrs. Whitmore had given her sat beside it. She pulled it out, stared at the smiling teenagers in their service uniforms, and made a decision. She wouldn't throw it away. She'd keep it, a reminder of what they expected, a reminder of what she'd prove wrong. The bell rang for the next class. Maya stood, wiped her eyes with rough brown paper towels, and checked her reflection. Her face was composed, betraying nothing. Her mother had taught her that too, how to wear a mask when the world demanded it. She walked out of that bathroom different, not broken, forged. Maya was 7 years old when she learned what injustice looked like up close. Her mother had worked at Harrison Medical Supply for 3 years, inventory management, shipment coordination, the backbone of their operation. Diane Jenkins never missed a day, never filed a complaint, always volunteered for extra shifts when emergencies arose. When the management position opened, she applied. She had seniority, performance reviews that glowed, and relationships with every supplier in their network. The interview went well. The hiring manager smiled warmly, called her an asset to the team. Then they hired Marcus, a white man with 2 years' experience and a resume half the quality of Diane's. The explanation came in corporate speak. Better culture fit, leadership presence, growth potential. Maya watched her mother come home that evening. No tears, just silence. Diane sat at their kitchen table for an hour, staring at nothing, her hands folded so tightly her knuckles went white. Finally, she spoke. "Baby, come here." Maya climbed into her mother's lap, small arms wrapping around her neck. Diane smelled like hospital disinfectant and disappointment. "They tried to break me today," Diane whispered. "Told me I wasn't good enough without saying the words." "You know why?" Maya shook her head. "Because they're scared. Scared of what happens when people who look like us get power. So they keep us small." Diane pulled back, held Maya's face between her rough palms. "I won't let them break you. You're going to dream so big they can't ignore you. And when they try to stop you, because they will try, you'll be stronger than I was." 2 weeks later, Diane brought home a coding book, purchased with tip money she'd been saving for new work shoes. "Learn this," she said. "Technology is power. They can't keep you out of a world you know how to build." Maya learned Python before she mastered cursive. She wrote her first program, a simple calculator, at age 8 and showed it to her mother with shaking excitement. Diane cried then, happy tears mixing with something deeper, something that tasted like vindication. Every rejection her mother faced became fuel. When Diane was passed over for another promotion, Maya stayed up late teaching herself JavaScript. When their landlord tried to raise rent unfairly, citing neighborhood standards, Maya built a website documenting tenant rights. When the grocery store security guard followed them through aisles like they were criminals, Maya coded an app tracking racial profiling incidents. By age 10, Maya had skills beyond her years. But more than that, she had purpose. Her mother's pain had crystallized into mission: break down doors, build new worlds. Mrs. Whitmore's career day humiliation wasn't new. It was an echo of every no her mother had heard, every door slammed in her face. The difference was, Maya now had tools her mother hadn't: education, technology, time. She thought of her mother working double shifts so Maya could attend Pinewood Academy, sacrificing new clothes and hot meals so her daughter could have opportunities. The scholarship wasn't charity. It was payment for centuries of stolen chances, and Maya would extract every ounce of value from it. That night, Maya sat at their kitchen table with her coding notebook. Her mother worked the night shift, wouldn't be home until dawn. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the old refrigerator and distant traffic. Maya opened to a fresh page and wrote at the top, CEO by 30. Below it, she began mapping a path. Middle school coding competitions, high school internships, college scholarships, startup experience. Each step detailed, each goal measurable. Mrs. Whitmore said she wasn't suited for corporate environments. Maya would prove corporate environments weren't suited for anyone who wasn't ready for her. The poster from Career Day hung on her bedroom wall now, wrinkled but visible. Next to it she taped the At-Risk Youth pamphlet. Side by side, dream and doubt, possibility and limitation. She'd need both to remember why she was fighting. Maya's suspicions about Mrs. Whitmore crystallized 3 months after Career Day, when she should have received her recommendation letter for the district's Advanced STEM Academy. The program selected 30 students annually from across 6 schools, an intensive summer program teaching robotics, coding, and engineering fundamentals. Entry practically guaranteed acceptance to top high school's science tracks. Maya's application was flawless. Perfect grades in math and science, a portfolio of coding projects that made the school's IT coordinator whistle with appreciation, teacher recommendations from her math and science instructors glowing with praise. She'd prepared for months, knowing this program was her gateway to bigger opportunities. The rejection letter arrived on plain paper, impersonal and brief. Unfortunately, your application did not meet acceptance standards. We encourage you to reapply next year. No explanation, no feedback, just closure. Maya sat in the guidance counselor's office the next day, determined to understand. Ms. Patricia Rodriguez, the counselor, was kind but careful. Sometimes these decisions are subjective, she said gently. The committee reviews many factors beyond academics. What factors? Maya pressed. My grades are highest in my class. My portfolio shows real skills. My recommendations... Ms. Rodriguez's expression shifted slightly. About that, I should mention, not all your teachers submitted recommendations. Maya's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Your homeroom teacher, Mrs. Whitmore, Ms. Rodriguez hesitated, choosing words carefully. She submitted a different kind of assessment. It raised concerns about your suitability for intensive academic programs. The office suddenly felt airless. What kind of concerns? Ms. Rodriguez glanced at her computer screen, then away. I'm not really supposed to discuss specific committee deliberations. Please, Maya said. The word came out broken. Something in Ms. Rodriguez's face cracked. She sighed deeply, turned her monitor slightly away from the door. If I step out for coffee, and my screen happens to be visible for 2 minutes, that's my business, right? She stood, gave Maya a meaningful look and walked out. Maya's hands trembled as she rounded the desk. The file on screen was hers. Application materials, test scores, teacher assessments. Most glowed positive. Then she reached Mrs. Whitmore's section. The words were clinical, professional, devastating. Student demonstrates adequate classroom performance, but lacks aptitude for rigorous technical fields requiring abstract thinking and sustained innovation. Multiple observations suggest concrete learning style, better suited for structured, task-based environments rather than open-ended creative challenges. Additionally, cultural background and family circumstances may impede success in highly competitive corporate track programs. Students would benefit more from vocational or service-oriented pathways that align with community strengths and realistic career accessibility. Recommendation: alternative programs focusing on practical skill development rather than theoretical advancement. Maya read it 3 times. Each word landed like a physical blow. Lacks aptitude. Cultural background. Community strengths. The language was coded, careful, designed to sound objective while dripping with bias. Her heart hammered so loud she could barely hear. She fumbled for her phone, photographing the screen with shaking hands. The flash reflected against the monitor. Evidence, proof, documentation of discrimination wrapped in educational jargon. Ms. Rodriguez returned exactly 2 minutes later. Maya was back in her chair, face composed but pale. The counselor sat down, met Maya's eyes. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the system protects people who shouldn't be protected. I'm sorry I can't do more officially." "It's not your fault," Maya managed. Her voice sounded distant, mechanical. She left the office walking carefully, as if sudden movement might shatter her. The hallways of Pinewood Academy, polished floors, trophy cases gleaming with achievements, suddenly looked different. Not a school. A gatekeeper. A machine designed to sort students into predetermined categories based on invisible criteria. Mrs. Whitmore's assessment wasn't random cruelty. It was systematic, calculated, a weapon wielded with precision, destroying opportunities while maintaining plausible deniability. Maya had thought Career Day was the worst of it. Humiliation, mockery, public dismissal. But this was worse. This was sabotage. This was a teacher using institutional power to kill a child's future before it could take root. That night, Maya showed her mother the photograph. Diane read it in silence, her jaw working. When she finished, she set the phone down carefully and pulled Maya into her arms. "They're scared of you, baby," she whispered. "You're 10 years old and already brilliant. They see what you could become and it terrifies them, so they try to stop you early." "What do I do?" Maya asked. Diane pulled back, looked her daughter in the eyes. "You get better, smarter, stronger. You build yourself into someone they can't stop, can't ignore, can't diminish with their little letters and assessments. And someday," her voice hardened with promise, "you make sure no other child faces this." Maya nodded. The photo stayed on her phone. Evidence saved. A debt recorded. She didn't know yet how she'd repay it. But she knew she would. 6 years passed like a storm. Fierce, transforming, relentless. Maya graduated middle school with perfect grades and a portfolio of apps that had won regional competitions. By 16, she'd built Connected, a scholarship-matching platform that helped low-income students find funding. It won the state's Young Innovator Award. Local news covered it. Stanford sent recruitment letters. Maya requested a meeting with the Pinewood Academy School Board to present her platform. She wanted to offer it to the district free of charge, helping students like her find opportunities. The board agreed, scheduling a public session. Mrs. Whitmore, now the district's curriculum coordinator, would attend. The boardroom smelled like old wood and older power. 7 members sat behind a curved desk, faces politely interested but distant. Maya stood at the podium in her best dress, royal blue carefully chosen, armor disguised as fabric. Her mother sat in the back row, hands clasped in prayer position. Maya's presentation was flawless. Slides moved smoothly, data compelling. She showed how Connected had already helped 300 students secure over $2 million in scholarships, how Pinewood could be the first district in the state to officially partner with the platform. The board members nodded, asked polite questions, took notes that looked official but meant nothing. Then Mrs. Whitmore raised her hand, standing with practiced grace. She'd aged well. Silver hair in an elegant twist, designer suit in cream, authority radiating from every gesture. "I want to acknowledge Maya's accomplishment here," Mrs. Whitmore said, her smile as cold as it had been 6 years ago. "It's truly impressive for someone with her background and, shall we say, limitations to create something functional." The word hung in the air, limitations. As if Maya's blackness, her poverty, her existence was an obstacle she'd temporarily overcome rather than fuel that powered her. "However," Mrs. Whitmore continued, "we must consider whether this platform aligns with our district's values and standards. Technology created by students, while charming, may lack the professional rigor our institution requires." She said it kindly, professionally. The board members shifted, reconsidering. One cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should table this pending further review." Maya felt the opportunity slipping away. She tried to respond, to present more data, but her voice sounded young suddenly, uncertain. The board politely thanked her for her time and moved to the next agenda item. Mrs. Whitmore touched Maya's shoulder as she packed up her laptop. "You've come far, dear," she said softly, patronizingly, "but there's a difference between student projects and professional systems. I'm sure you understand." Maya understood perfectly. The game was rigged. Excellence wasn't enough when gatekeepers controlled the gates. She left that boardroom with her mother's arm around her shoulders, her platform rejected, her hope dented. In the parking lot, Diane stopped, turned Maya to face her. "They said no to this," Diane said firmly. "They'll say no to other things. But baby, you don't need their permission. You build so big they have to say yes." Maya nodded. Stanford awaited. Silicon Valley awaited. A whole world existed beyond Pinewood Academy's narrow walls. But Mrs. Whitmore's voice followed her like a shadow. Limitations. Graduation day arrived warm and bright. Maya stood among her classmates in royal blue robes, valedictorian medal heavy around her neck. She'd earned it despite everything. Perfect GPA, multiple awards, Stanford acceptance with full scholarship, a summer internship at Tech Vision waiting. The ceremony was a blur of speeches and applause. Maya's mother sat in the audience crying happy tears, her double-shift exhaustion momentarily forgotten. When Maya's name was called, the applause was genuine but brief. She belonged to a different future now, one that made her classmates and teachers vaguely uncomfortable. After the ceremony, families clustered on the lawn for photos. Maya stood with her mother, both of them grinning when Mrs. Whitmore approached. She'd aged more noticeably up close, lines around her mouth, weariness in her eyes. But her smile remained practiced, her voice still honeyed poison. "Maya, dear, a word before you leave us?" She gestured away from the crowd. Maya exchanged glances with her mother. Diane's expression hardened, but she nodded. "I'll be right here." Mrs. Whitmore led Maya to the edge of the lawn, near the same building where she'd been humiliated during career day 6 years ago. The symbolism felt deliberate. "I wanted to say goodbye properly," Mrs. Whitmore began, smoothing her dress. "You've certainly surprised everyone with your persistence." Maya said nothing. Waited. "Stanford is a wonderful school," Mrs. Whitmore continued, her voice dropping to something more intimate, more cruel. "But I feel I should prepare you. That world, Silicon Valley, tech leadership, corporate America, it's not designed for people like you." The words were careful, coded. "People like you. You may have fooled the admissions committee with impressive applications and awards," Mrs. Whitmore said, "but real success requires more than test scores. It requires fit, culture, understanding unspoken rules." She paused, let the weight settle. "You'll face disappointment there, rejection, and eventually you'll realize your place." Maya's hands clenched inside her graduation robe. 6 years of fury crystallized into singular focus. "You'll come back here," Mrs. Whitmore said with false sympathy. "Maybe teach in local schools, help your community in appropriate ways. There's no shame in accepting realistic paths. I tried to tell you that years ago. The lawn behind them buzzed with celebration. Families taking photos, students throwing caps, a world moving forward while Maya stood frozen in this moment, Mrs. Whitmore's prediction hanging between them like a curse. Maya wanted to scream, to rage, to tell this woman exactly how wrong she was. But her mother's lessons held firm. Pick your battles. Win the war. So Maya simply looked Mrs. Whitmore in the eyes and said, "Thank you for your concern." Then she walked away, diploma in hand, refusing to let tears fall until she reached her mother. Diane held her tight, whispered fierce promises about proving everyone wrong. But in Maya's mind a different voice spoke. Cold, certain, unbreakable. I won't just prove you wrong. I'll own that world you say I don't belong in. Then I'll come back here and burn your legacy to the ground. The thought should have scared her. Instead, it felt like power. Silicon Valley was paradise and hell. Stanford's campus glowed with autumn gold, its students brilliant and driven. Maya thrived academically, her coding skills sharpening against peers who'd attended elite prep schools and had venture capitalist parents. But belonging was different than excelling. In study groups, classmates talked over her. Professors expressed surprise at her insights, as if intelligence was unexpected. At her summer internship, she was mistaken for catering staff 3 times before she'd even presented her ID badge. By 25, Maya had founded her first startup, an AI-powered tutoring platform called BridgeLearn. The technology was solid, the market need real. She pitched to 17 venture capital firms in 6 months. 16 said no. The yeses came with conditions that would strip her of control, reduce her to a figurehead, while white executives ran her company. She refused. BridgeLearn folded after 14 months. Funding dried up. Her co-founder, a white Stanford classmate, jumped ship to join Google, taking key code with him. Partners vanished overnight. The tech press wrote dismissive paragraphs about another failed edtech startup. Maya sat in the empty office on the day she signed dissolution papers. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, the same pitch as Pinewood Academy's hallways. Boxes of unsold merchandise lined the walls. Her mother's life savings invested in this dream, gone. She pulled up Mrs. Whitmore's LinkedIn profile. The woman had retired from Pinewood, was consulting for educational institutions, still spreading her gospel of appropriate career pathways and cultural fit. Maya stared at that profile picture for 10 minutes. Mrs. Whitmore's smile, warm and professional, hiding decades of casual cruelty. You'll realize your place, the words echoed across years. Maya closed her laptop and stood. The office was dark now, streetlights casting long shadows through empty windows. She could feel the weight of failure pressing down, feel the temptation to give up, to return home and accept smaller dreams. Her phone rang. Her mother, calling from the night shift at the hospital where she still worked despite arthritis and exhaustion. "Baby, you okay?" Diane's voice tired but fierce. "I failed," Maya whispered. "Lost everything." "No." Diane's voice hardened. "You learned. There's a difference. They didn't beat you. They taught you how they fight. Now you fight smarter." Maya closed her eyes, heard her mother's breathing, steady and sure despite years of rejection and closed doors. "She was wrong about you," Diane continued. "Mrs. Whitmore and everyone like her. They see skin color and bank accounts and decide who deserves dreams. But baby, you're still standing. That's not failure. That's preparation." When the call ended, Maya stood in that dark office and made a different decision. Not surrender, evolution. She'd failed because she'd played their game. Time to change the rules. She started again the next morning. Maya's second startup learned from the first's mistakes. Instead of chasing venture capital validation, she bootstrapped. Instead of building for everyone, she focused on a specific problem. Identifying bias in educational algorithms and school systems, Equity AI launched quietly, offering schools software that analyzed their data for discriminatory patterns in discipline, advanced placement recommendations, and resource allocation. The results were devastating and undeniable, proving what students of color had known for generations. Schools initially resisted. Then a major lawsuit against a Texas district used Equity AI's data as evidence. The district lost, settled for $8 million. Suddenly, every school system in America wanted bias audits. Revenue exploded. Maya hired carefully, prioritizing talented engineers from non-traditional backgrounds, building a company culture that valued results over pedigree. By 30, Equity AI had Fortune 500 clients, government contracts, and revenue approaching 9 figures. The company went public when Maya was 32. The opening bell rang with her finger on the button, her mother beside her in emerald green silk. When the stock price stabilized, Maya was worth $1.3 billion. Forbes wanted a cover. Ted asked for a talk. The White House invited her to a tech summit. She accepted all of it, wearing success like armor Mrs. Whitmore said she'd never forge. But success wasn't enough. Maya remembered sitting in that bathroom stall at 10 years old, dreams crumpled in her fist. She remembered Mrs. Whitmore's assessment letter, lacks aptitude. Cultural background may impede success. One night, unable to sleep, Maya searched for Pinewood Academy online. The district's website was outdated, desperate. Budget crisis headlines filled local news. Enrollment dropping, teachers leaving, buildings deteriorating. The school board was discussing closure or consolidation. Maya sat in her San Francisco penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a city she'd conquered, and felt that old fury reignite. Pinewood Academy was failing. The institution that had tried to fail her was drowning. And Mrs. Whitmore's legacy, her curriculum decisions, her philosophical approach to appropriate pathways, had helped sink it. Maya opened her laptop and began researching acquisition procedures for school districts. Most people bought companies. She had bigger plans. She called her mother at midnight. "Remember when Mrs. Whitmore said I'd realize my place?" Maya asked. "Baby, that woman was wrong about everything." "I know. And I'm about to show her exactly how wrong." Maya's voice was calm, certain. "I'm going to buy Pinewood, the whole district, and transform it into everything she said black students couldn't achieve." Diane was silent for 3 seconds. "Then, do it. Burn that place down and build it better." Maya spent the next 3 months preparing. She assembled lawyers, education consultants, financial advisors. She researched every detail of the district's budget crisis, its debt structure, its desperate need for salvation. Then she made her offer. Not a donation, not a partnership, a complete acquisition, restructuring Pinewood into a privately run public charter district with Maya as owner and the existing board as advisors. The price, $75 million, cashed up. The school board scheduled an emergency session to consider it. Maya requested to present the offer in person. She booked her flight home. The school board meeting room hadn't changed in 16 years. Same wood paneling, same curved desk, same power dynamics embedded in the furniture arrangement. But this time Maya Jenkins wasn't a teenager with a rejected app. She was a billionaire, with an offer they couldn't afford to refuse. She entered wearing an emerald green suit, custom-tailored, her company's logo embroidered subtly on the briefcase she carried. Her mother sat in the audience, tears already streaming. The 7 board members looked nervous, hopeful, curious. And there, in the back row as a retired consultant, sat Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore. Maya's heart hammered seeing her. The woman had aged considerably. Hair fully silver now, face lined, shoulders slightly hunched. But her eyes held the same judgment, the same certainty that Maya didn't belong. "Members of the board," Maya began, her voice steady and clear. "Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Maya Jenkins, CEO of Equity AI. You're considering my offer to acquire and restructure Pinewood Academy District." She clicked to her first slide. The offer summary. $75 million for complete acquisition, with guaranteed employment for existing staff who met equity standards, full technology upgrades, and restructured curriculum focusing on innovation and inclusion. The board members leaned forward, hungry for salvation from their budget crisis. Before we discuss terms, I want to show you something. Maya clicked to the next slide. A photograph appeared. 10-year-old Maya at career day holding her crumpled poster, tears visible on her cheeks. The room went silent. This is me at age 10. A student at Pinewood Academy. That day I told my 5th grade class I wanted to be a tech CEO. Maya's voice remained calm, clinical. I was laughed at, mocked, and my teacher told me to be realistic about my goals. She clicked again. Mrs. Whitmore's assessment letter filled the screen. Every damning word visible. Lacks aptitude, was cultural background, was community strengths, was vocational pathways. Gasps rippled through the room. Board members stared. Mrs. Whitmore's face drained of color. This letter, Maya continued, written by a Pinewood teacher, destroyed my admission to the Advanced STEM Academy. It suggested I wasn't intellectually capable of rigorous technical fields. That my cultural background, she paused, let the weight settle, made me unsuitable for corporate success. One board member whispered to another. The superintendent looked horrified. Maya clicked to the next slide, her Stanford acceptance letter. Then her Forbes cover, then Equity AI's IPO announcement, then her current net worth. The teacher who wrote that assessment told me I'd fail, that I didn't belong in technology, that I'd eventually realize my place. Maya's voice hardened. She was wrong. That I'm here today to ensure no other child in this district hears those lies. She turned, looked directly at Mrs. Whitmore. The woman sat frozen, her practiced composure crumbling. That teacher is in this room right now, Maya said. Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore, retired curriculum coordinator, still consulting for this district, still spreading her philosophy of appropriate pathways for students of color. Mrs. Whitmore stood abruptly. The letter was based on educational assessment, not what? Maya's voice cut like steel. Not race? Then explain cultural background. Explain why my perfect grades and coding portfolio weren't enough. Explain why you told a black child to aim lower while white students with less talent were encouraged to dream bigger. Silence. Absolute. Devastating. Maya turned back to the board. My offer stands. $75 million to acquire this district. Complete restructuring focused on equity and innovation. Free technology for every student. Scholarships specifically for black and brown children. Curriculum that encourages all students to dream without limits. She clicked to the final slide. The Jenkins Innovation Academy logo. I'm renaming this institution after my mother, Diane Jenkins, a woman who worked double shifts so her daughter could attend a school that tried to destroy her. This district told me I didn't belong in their world. Maya's voice broke slightly, then steadied. So I bought their world. And I'm making it better. The room erupted. Board members stood, applauding. Diane sobbed in the audience. Parents and teachers cheered. Mrs. Whitmore fled through the side door, her designer heels clicking retreat. The board voted unanimously. 7-0. The district was Maya's. 6 months later, Pinewood Academy no longer existed. In its place stood Jenkins Innovation Academy, reborn and gleaming. Maya walked through the renovated hallways, her mother beside her. New computers filled every classroom. Science labs had equipment most colleges envied. The library, renamed the Diane Jenkins Learning Center, overflowed with books celebrating diverse innovators and dreamers. The faculty had been restructured. Teachers who'd shown bias patterns were offered retirement packages or reassigned. New hires reflected the community's diversity: black teachers, Latino teachers, teachers who'd overcome poverty and understood the students they served. Mrs. Whitmore's retirement had been expedited. Her consulting contract terminated. Her legacy of appropriate pathways dismantled piece by piece. Maya entered her old fifth-grade classroom, now a state-of-the-art STEM lab. Students, black, brown, white, Asian, every background, worked together on coding projects and robotics. Their laughter was genuine, their dreams unrestrained. One girl, about 10 years old with dark skin and bright eyes, looked up. "Ms. Jenkins, is it true you used to go to school here?" Maya knelt beside her workstation. "I did. What are you working on?" "An app that helps people find free meal programs in their neighborhood." "My mom says food shouldn't be hard to find if you need it." Maya's throat tightened. "That's brilliant. What do you want to be when you grow up?" The girl didn't hesitate. "A tech CEO like you." No one laughed. No one mocked. Her classmates nodded support, offered coding suggestions, asked if they could help test the app. Maya stood, blinking back tears. Her mother took her hand and squeezed. "You didn't just prove them wrong, baby," Diane whispered. "You changed the game." They walked to the front entrance where a new plaque hung, Jenkins Innovation Academy, where every dream has permission. Maya touched the wall where her old desk had sat, where she'd been humiliated, where her dreams had nearly died. The pain was still there, etched into memory, scarred into identity, but transformed. No longer a wound, a foundation. Everything she'd built rose from this ground, watered with tears she'd cried in bathroom stalls, fertilized by fury at injustice. Mrs. Whitmore had tried to kill Maya's dreams when she was too young to fight back. But those dreams had survived, grown, become something bigger than one girl's ambition. They'd become revolution. The first graduating class of Jenkins Innovation Academy filled the auditorium to capacity. Maya stood at the podium, looking out at faces that reflected the world's diversity. Students who'd been told they were too poor, too dark, too different to dream big. "Someone once told me to be realistic about my dreams," Maya began, her voice carrying over the silent crowd. She meant, accept the limits others place on you because of your skin, your zip code, your family's bank account. She meant know your place. She paused, let the words hang. But dreams aren't meant to be realistic. Dreams are meant to be relentless. They're meant to survive mockery, rejection, closed doors. They're meant to grow in the dark until they're too powerful to contain. Maya held up a frame. Inside was the Career Day poster, smoothed, preserved, honored. The faces of innovators she'd drawn at age 10 smiled back. "When I was your age, I stood in a classroom that doesn't exist anymore and announced I wanted to be a tech CEO. My teacher laughed. My classmates mocked. And I believed for one terrible moment that they were right." She set the frame down gently. "But my mother taught me something crucial. She said, their laughter is their limitation, not yours. Every person who tells you that you don't belong, that you're not smart enough, that you should aim lower, they're revealing their own fears, their own smallness." The students leaned forward, hanging on every word. "Your responsibility isn't to shrink so they feel comfortable. Your responsibility is to rise so high that you lift others with you." Maya's voice strengthened. "To break doors down so the next generation walks through easily. To transform pain into power, rejection into revolution." She looked directly at the students of color in the audience, the ones who'd face Mrs. Whitmores of their own, who'd be told they don't fit, who'd question whether they belong. "I bought this school district not for revenge, though that would have been satisfying. I bought it because you deserve better. You deserve teachers who see potential, not limitations. You deserve a world that celebrates your dreams instead of crushing them." The auditorium was silent, except for scattered sniffles. Maya's mother sobbed openly in the front row. "When they laugh at your dreams, remember this. Their laughter is temporary. Your success is permanent. Their judgment is background noise. Your impact is legacy." Maya's voice dropped to something more intimate, more fierce. "Be so excellent they can't ignore you. So powerful they can't contain you. So generous that your success uplifts your entire community." She stepped back from the podium. The auditorium erupted. Applause like thunder, students and parents standing, crying, cheering. Outside, the afternoon sun cast gold across the school's new sign. Jenkins Innovation Academy, a place where dreams weren't sorted by skin color or income, where every child heard yes instead of realistic, where Maya's pain had transformed into possibility. Mrs. Whitmore was gone, her legacy buried. But Maya's legacy was just beginning. Hundreds of students learning that they belong anywhere they choose to be, that their dreams need no permission, that limitation is a lie told by people afraid of change. Maya Jenkins had proved them all wrong. But more importantly, she'd made sure no other 10-year-old would cry in a bathroom stall, wondering if their dreams were foolish. That was the victory that mattered. That was the dream realized, not just reaching the top, bringing everyone else up with you.